Hi, and welcome to Coach's Corner, where systems matter and both personal and professional learning and development is beneficial for everyone and essential for some. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, we're joined with Brett Zandis, or better known as Coach Little Z23. Today we're going to talk about another section of the sales. And so, like I said in the last video, it's had multiple years of selling and doing that, and it's crazy to think that one person can do so much in a lifetime. You know, we see it and different things like that, but when you really break it down and you talk about it, to think about how he's been a student, an athlete, a coach, a salesman, a employee, an employer. I mean, when you just break it down like that, it's amazing to see how much you've done, and it makes sense why you're able to talk on so much subjects and give such great insight to the people that are, trying to learn about those different things. And it's, you're only 52. I mean, to think that there's another 40 years of things that you can still accomplish and still learn and still do and talk about is really special. And it, I feel blessed to be able to be in this position to talk to you about it and pick your brain on that. So thank you for allowing me to do that. And so, as we move on and talk different things about that, whether that's coaching or being an employee or employer, it'll be fun to do that. But further ado, we'll talk about sales again.
I'm the Dos Equis guy.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Or a maven. Look that up sometime. Maven
Uh-huh.
in the dictionary. I think that's what I am.
Got it.
I'll go and figure out whatever.
Yeah.
If somebody in my family were to get cancer,
Yeah.
I would go and be better than most people that were an expert in cancer about
Right,
it. Yeah, because I'll just dig and and then I'll start systematizing and put it together and okay, this is what we have to do,
Yeah.
And I think that's what a maven does.
Got it. Yeah, I'll have to look that up for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So, before we get started, is there anything that you'd like to, talk to the audience about or say before, like I said, we get started?
Yeah, just thanks for the introduction. I do hope that it finds the people well. I think it's interesting, you being my son.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of talks, a lot of road trips.
Yeah.
5 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours, out of whack, flying all across the nation and different things. So I think it's interesting, and I think it'll be more interesting when, in 7 years, like when you're 30, your perspective on how this is all kind of coming together. Because I think you're, looking at me and going like, that's interesting, something I never thought about when I'm 16, 17, 18.
Right.
And I think we've talked about that too, as an analogy. Jesus can't be a prophet in his hometown.
Right.
And so you're like, oh, that's just my dad, right? So if you're Emmett Smith, they're like, oh, that's just my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, he's kind of one of the best, running backs in the history of the world.
Right.
Right. And I'm not saying I'm that, but I'm saying that I do have some things to offer people, and I'm hoping that, that it finds them well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, starting with overall questions, and so this first one, not including yourself.
Yeah.
But what do you think is worse for most people, not hitting the quota or having an unhappy client?
Oh, guy, what a great question. I would hope that, it would bother them to have an unhappy client first. I always look at it and say, if you help enough clients or customers, then the money will always follow.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think in today's society, it's probably the other way around.
Yeah.
And then I would actually ask you in the same way. Are you technically a millennial, or?
I think I'm either on the tail end of when it started, I'm either at the beginning stages or the tail end, which is what I think I am of Generation Z.
Okay, but let me ask you that, both with the Zers and the millennials, like that kind of group.
Yeah.
If I asked you the exact same question, because I don't think I'd be able to answer that as well as maybe you could, or people more. Seems like it's more about self and self-driven and all that. Did you hear about the Cam Newton thing?
Yeah, the kid.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, this guy's out here volunteering. And I don't know the full story, but it sounded like Cam handled it pretty darn well.
Yeah.
In the end, and it was like, gosh, dang. So, but I would ask that question back to you.
Well,
twice over and stick back to you. What was that little saying? When you're a
Yeah.
little kid or whatever. But what do you think?
Well, I mean, not to cause any controversy, but I think it has to do a lot on how you were raised.
Oh,
And how
okay.
you were brought up, and so I won't get into the details, but I think that has a lot to do with it.
Okay. So, but I think you would also say, I'm just guessing here, speculating, that most people in your generation and the millennials were raised where it was more about self and money
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that's probably in my generation too,
Mhm.
but I think even more so in those
Yeah.
two generations. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
who really knows? But I like your answer. I think, there's some genetics,
Yeah.
right? We talked about this. Who are you at this point right now? A collection of genetics and the
Right.
DNA, the experiences, the circumstances, the environment, which is what you're talking about.
Yes.
And I think that's probably a good assessment.
Yeah.
You want to switch roles here?
Yeah, switch roles. Well, no, because this next question I would have no clue. So,
He's like,
yeah.
I voted for Carlos.
So let's say that, this guy, Rob. No offense to Robs out there.
Sorry, Rob.
Yeah.
Deer Dork. What's his name?
Deer Deck.
Deerdeck.
Yep.
Sorry, Rob Deerdeck.
So you called him.
Yes.
And you set up a time for Tuesday.
Yes.
And then he gets back and says, hey, I can't make it on Tuesday. Can we reschedule?
Yes.
And then, we reschedule for Thursday.
Yes.
And then you reschedules again.
Yes.
And then by the fourth or fifth time. So, in other words, is there a time where you just stop pursuing the client?
Sure. But I do think there's a telltale sign. If they call you,
Yeah.
usually that means they're still interested.
Okay.
Now, also, that being said, remember, most people don't know how to say no.
Right.
And they do long maybes.
Yeah.
So they may like you or respect you, especially if it's somebody you know. And even if not, and they don't know how to say no, so they do these things. They push you off.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting one for me. But typically, they're blowing you off if you have to contact them.
Okay.
Then that's an automatic where they don't know how to tell you no.
No.
They're not mature enough to just say no and because they're pleasers or different things of
Yeah.
that nature. But if they call you the first couple times, it could be legit. And that's how I'd look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably by the fourth time, first of all, for me, I don't have the patience level of that.
Yeah.
So, for sure by the second or third time, I'll be like, look,
Right.
are you trying to give me a long maybe, which is really a no?
Right. Or,
Because I'm cool with no's. I'm not cool with long maybes.
Yeah.
So if you're really trying to reschedule because you really want to sit down, then great.
Yeah.
But if you're just kind of whatever, just let me move on. It's actually better for me. So, I think that if you tell people that, I said earlier, I said that to a guy, you won't call back. He's like, oh, no, he didn't call back.
Yeah.
Right? So I think a lot of it has to do with, kind of how you set it up and what's your tolerance level. So my wife would say to you guys, 5 times. Now, if you do that, I'm going to give you a spank. And I just would look at you and be like, the spank is coming.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's a lot of it depends on the salesperson themselves.
Right.
But I think all those are factors involved.
Yeah. And so this next question is kind of an oxymoron to me. So as a
Isn't life, right?
Yeah. So as a self-employed independent contractor,
Yeah.
in the word itself, you're self-employed,
Yeah.
but you're also working on the team.
Yeah.
So how does that dynamic work out?
Well, technically, by the legal law, and they've changed it a lot lately, even more so. You can talk to them and ask them about different things, but you can't force them to do it or punish them if they don't.
Okay.
So like we used to have in the other company, we used to have our gatherings, which is like a meeting or a training, but we used to do them too. We do the VIPs. For the best in the business who are already in the business, as well as the people that we were, wanting to check out the business. We would do Monday morning at 9, and then we would do a Tuesday for the part-timers at night.
Okay.
So a Tuesday evening. But in the end, they're self-employed independent contractors. They can do what they want. They can come and go as they want. They can, and there's a lot of other laws. I don't want to get into it because I'm not an attorney.
Yeah.
But in the end, there's parameters that are basically no parameters. They do what they want, when they want, how they want.
Yeah.
But if you're providing a meeting and they want to come, then that's their choice.
Yeah.
So I think, it's like what we used to say about in PE. So you couldn't corporal punish. So my dad was a PE teacher. and you could corporal punish, meaning you could have them do something physical. They call it corporal punishment.
Yeah.
I think it came from, the armed services.
Right.
Drop down and give me 50, right? Or whatever. So you couldn't do that when I was teaching, but you could with my dad.
Yeah.
Believe me, I had to do a lot of push-ups in school because I was being a donkey.
Yeah.
But what we used to do is we would say, hey, you have a choice. You can either go and run a lap or give me 50 or whatever, or I will call your mom.
Right.
I don't care which one you choose. That's your choice. So then they were choosing usually to go walk the lap or do whatever. And it would be the same thing as a self-employed independent contractor. Technically, they would have the choice to show or not.
Got it. And this is not a question that I had thought of, or originally, but thought of right now. When it comes to NFL players, NBA players, MLB players, they're not really self-employed independent contractors, but they kind of are, right, in a way, because they can move from place to place. Or how would you classify them?
That's a great question. I don't know officially, but I would think they're an employee of that, and they have a contract.
Right.
And just like anybody else could breach a contract. So if I have a contract for a year to be the CEO of a, Fortune 500 company or whatever, and I could breach that contract, which means they could get legal.
Yeah.
Right? Or they could fire me and not pay me, and that could get legal.
Yeah.
So, but in the end, I'm still an employee of theirs.
Right.
So I think you may be mixing up a little bit of free agency versus self-employed independent contractor. They seem like they're similar, but they're really not. It's just that contract is either up, or like in Deshaun Watson's case, he just may not honor the contract.
Yeah. And
he may run the risk of being sued, or he's going to for sure run the risk of he ain't going to get paid. Yeah. Because, they'll break it down. By the way, on a sidebar, we used to talk about Roger Clemens. He was one of the highest paid guys at the time. So, they only play once every 4 days, right? Or, the rotation of 5 days. Yeah. And we were figuring out he was making $80,000 a pitch.
Right, they did that for LeBron, with his new contract.
Oh, did they? What was it?
It was for every minute that he plays, it was $12,000.
Yeah, right.
Geez.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's a great question. I don't like not knowing the answer to that, because I would think I'd be smarter than that. But I don't want to say something that's not going to be correct. Yeah. But I would imagine those are employees. It's kind of weird.
Weird, yeah. Okay, which is what I thought. I just thought of that because as I'm looking around your man cave and see all these sports things.
No, it's great. It's a great comment too, because I'm like, is free agency, you want to put it with freelancer, which is a self-employed independent contract. Right. But it's I don't think so. I think that they're just employees that get paid a boatload of money.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to motivation, did you ever lose motivation when you were in the sales business? And then did you have to, get it back, or was that when you're just you know what, I'm done and I'm going to move on and go somewhere else?
Yeah, I don't think that I lost motivation, but I maybe lost the love for it, or the like for it, or it just was I like it okay, but it's just not really where I'd want to be.
Yeah.
Right? I'm good at troubleshooting. Mm-hmm. So when I had 223 employees, or when I was working with the largest nonprofit who had 2,000 employees, I loved that.
Yeah.
Because, I could say, man, I could work with this person and I could see growth, not just in them, but their 30 kids.
Right.
I was just listening to, we're getting some stuff together for, the end of these videos. And, it's too bad that we weren't able to film everything, because there was a lot of great stuff. But I was looking through some old stuff that we happened to film.
Yeah.
And they were saying some great things on, so we're there to train them professionally, but they would say personally and professionally. This helped me in my personal life. It helped me with my own kids. It that whole pebble in the water approach. And I thought, man, that is so cool in the end. And so I think that for me, selling was good and it was fun. But to me, where I'm at my best is show me a trouble.
Right.
And let me help you to beat it. And we're not going to just beat it. We're going to annihilate it.
Yeah.
We're going to destroy whatever that trouble is. and we're going to turn, as we talked about, that lemon into lemonade, and it'll be the best. Ooh, it tastes so good.
Right.
With the nice umbrella and the straw. Go find that one somewhere. Right? I love the straw guy.
Like you said, you're always there to help people.
Yeah.
And that's what you want. And eventually, and maybe not, but eventually there's probably a time where it's like, I gotta let you go, or this is no longer gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Which one sucks, obviously more so for you because, your passion for helping people.
Yeah.
But what are some telltale signs for the people that, might be in that same situation? They're just like, man, I'm beating my head against this wall to help this person.
Yeah, that's tough. So, to this point, I've only given up on one person.
Yeah.
I've had some give up on me, right? But I've only given up on one person. And, I say I'm practical and pragmatic beyond all else, right? And that's why Jesus is real simple to me, whereas others go, oh, there's no such thing. I'm like, hey, good luck to you on that, but whatever. And not to judge, but just it just doesn't make. I mean, Jesus is 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
And so I worked with this person for 18 months very intensively, and she was. So I would say I was upper management and she was middle management.
Yeah.
If we run a correlation with the school district, after school and business, and I worked with her pretty hard for 18 months. And 18 months in, I shook her hand. I said, good luck to you. I'm not the one for you. And so I looked at it more like, instead of me giving up on her, I just said, I'm not the one for you. Right. I can't help you. And I learned then, and I've said this to you before, the mentee chooses the mentor, not the other way around.
Right.
And I think she was unmentorable, if that's a word. I don't care who it was. I mean, unless it was Jesus, then of course, But even him would have been like,
at 17 months, like, I can't believe I got that done.
Yeah, he's like, well, Brett, you get another jewel in your crown because I wanted to choke her out, or you know what I mean. She was tough. She was a knucklehead actually, but I think that in the end, and then I think if you have a big heart and you care for people, you go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I think I knew sooner than that. Yeah. Just like we were talking in the previous one with the company that I left. After I left teaching, I was like, there's some things that are kind of shady there.
Yeah.
And so I had left in my mind probably 5 or 7 months before I actually walked out the door. Yeah.
Yeah. And, to go back to what you brought up before about that, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Said in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's something there, like in the blink of an eye, like this isn't going to work, but you still try? Or do you think it's more like, no, after a couple months of working, then you know?
I think it can be both and.
Okay.
I think sometimes we know and we force it to try to work.
Yeah.
We've talked about those quadrants before. Yeah. The quadrant 3 years, that I want to, I think those guys are tough. But they have so much talent. Right. Low motivation, high talent. That's quadrant 3. You can find that on another one of the videos. But quadrant 1 is low motivation, low talent. Mm-hmm. Quadrant 2 type people is very high in motivation, low in talent. Quadrant 3 are the ones that drive everybody nuts because they're super high in talent and then they're low motivation. And then, of course, you have the rare unicorn, highly motivated and highly talented. And so I think that, with the quadrant 3ers, I think those are the ones where you spend that extra time that you probably shouldn't spend. Because in that blink of an eye, you probably know.
Right.
Yeah. Or, like you said, even if it's 3 weeks later, I mean, whether it's a blink of an eye or 3 to 5 weeks, you're going to spend the extra time with them because you see so much in them.
Right.
And one more thing on that. And for me, whether you were a 1, 2, 3, or 4, I always saw people and continue to see people more than what they think they are. So for me, I would always want to hang on too long anyway. Yeah. But in a lot of cases, they would go to whatever you said, right? Mm-hmm. Have you heard the 7 Cal wife story before?
I feel like I have, but
this is a great story. If you don't mind, I'll tell the audience. It kind of fits into this.
Okay.
So over in whatever country, how you married you got a wife is you had to give a certain amount of cows, and you would go to their dad and say, I want your daughter. And so 7 cows was like, dude, unheard of. it's $1 billion, $1 trillion, right? Like
Yeah.
3 cows was like, oh my gosh, she must have been, the most beautiful model, Cheryl Ladd of the.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who that is, but the older people will. But I don't know who the good-looking models are now. But whatever the young, like a 3. So there was the most homely-looking chick, ugly, grumpy, just everything about her was just yuck.
Yeah.
And the guy went and gave the dad seven cows.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole village was laughing. You're an idiot, 7 cows. You could have got her for a half a cow. You could have got her from what do they call them, a teat?
Oh, yeah.
Right? You could have just cut off the teat and, you didn't have to give her a cow. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. So anyway, so he gives 7 cows for this gal.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they go away. And so like a year later, he's having a party, the guy that gave the, right? And this gal's walking down the steps. It's got a castle mansion. Yeah. I mean, the most beautiful thing you've ever. Like, I'm getting chills even thinking about it.
Yeah.
The most angelic looking gal, and everybody's like in the town, like, who the heck is that?
Right.
Like who? Like, good. He got rid of that other gal and whatever. And as she got closer, it was her.
Uh-huh.
So, in other words, for me, that's how I see people.
Yeah.
I see him as a 7 cow person.
Right.
Or like my fullback. It was so funny. When I was teaching football, I go, hey, you're a fullback. He goes, what's a fullback? Yeah. And he just was one of those guys that would just knock you over. He just would, truck you, and he wouldn't even know what was happening. Yeah. And so when I told him, he goes, oh, yeah, I'm a fullback. Yeah. So a lot of times people don't see that they're a 7 cow. Or we talked about the gal that was dancing, at our after-school program. And we got a guy on a fluke talked about, underpriced stuff and all that. Yeah. And he was a choreographer for down south, and he did movies and all that. And when we saw her dance, and she says, I didn't know I was a dancer. Yeah. That's how I see people. Right. And then I'm going to help you to get there, and so you can see yourself there.
Yeah, absolutely. So then as we move to the next category, which is calls versus emails versus texts. Yeah. What do you think out of those 3 the best way to contact someone is?
It's phone call. Mm-hmm. Right? Get on the phone. And when you say best, I'm guessing you mean the highest ratios to set an appointment. Yeah, I mean, look, it's easier to either dismiss a text, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about it. So you had a girlfriend at one time who would text you, and you maybe want to get back to her for an hour or so, right? And it wasn't like you didn't want to get back to her, but it was like, whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, have you ever had a text from anybody in your whole life where you're like, I just didn't get back to them?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Right? Because it's easier. Mm-hmm. Now, if I said to you face-to-face, human touch, it's going to be harder for you to tell me no, right? Yeah. So that's why I always like a phone call or a face-to-face even better. Yeah. Hey, Nick, I wanted to ask you if I could sit down with you and have an appointment. Right. What's it about? Well, that's why I need 60 minutes. And then I know I'm going to break down a basic financial presentation for you and encourage you to move forward. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think those other ways, I call them chicken ways. Okay. Right? And so now maybe I'm wrong with, I don't know as much because maybe in this day and age, it's, that's more acceptable and it'll work out or whatever. Or my other one that you didn't ask about, this is my all-time favorite, they leave a message.
Oh, I can ask.
Long-winded, right? Yeah, okay, hey, so I'm going to give you a presentation. I'm going to talk to you about the stock market. I'm going to talk to you about and then the cave, and then I'm going to talk to you more about life insurance, and then I'm going to talk to you about a Roth IRA. And so what are they really saying? I'm so scared that I'm going to tell you everything, so that you can then turn me down politely because you already know. Yeah. I would never do that. I'd be like, yo, call me. And I'd hang up the phone.
Yeah, so that was going to be my question. What happens if with a phone call they don't answer and you have to leave a voicemail?
Nick, you need to give me a call. It's fairly urgent. Not an emergency, but fairly urgent. Well, what are you going to think about that? You'll be like, well, it's not. I don't want to say it's an emergency because then you're scared. Yeah. That's not right. Right. But I can say, it's fairly urgent. Well, it's, fairly urgent, right? Yeah. Or I would just be like, hey, Joe, I need to talk to you as soon as I can. And so that's my personality, too. And people be like, oh, well, that's just Brett.
Right.
or Coach Little Z23.
Yeah.
Versus maybe my wife be like, oh, hey, girl, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hopefully everything's good with your nail. So do it within your own personality, but don't give them everything.
Right.
And that's why I used to tell them, well, what is it about? What is it? Well, that's why I need 60 minutes. I can't break it down for you in 3 minutes on the phone.
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, then no. Then you don't want to meet with me. Then can I meet with one of your,
Right.
So I'd always kind of turn it on them to where, it was like, I'm going to win the backstory. I don't like the word, but I'm going to be in control of this because I am a professional salesperson, which says I know what to do more so than you should know what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. And then I know that you brought up your tickler file before.
Yeah.
When it comes to someone on the tickler file, do you call them as well, or is that when you would use your email? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to be, you have to look at your own time.
Yeah.
So to pick up the phone, to make a phone call, to, even leave a message, that's a lot longer time than to just send a quick text.
Right.
Right. If you have to talk to them for a couple, 3 minutes, to get an appointment, that's an extra 3 minutes versus the other. And so once they've told me no, remember there's a no never. You're not on my file. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
But then there's the no not right now. Then I'm just going to touch you probably once a month or once every couple months, depending. And I've told you the story about that with my brother, who was a real estate agent. He had a gal in town in Bakersfield, and the mom lived in L.A., and he worked like 6 or 7 months, hard with this gal. And then it just didn't work out. And so 3 months later, he sees the daughter and goes, hey, how's your mom doing? Oh, she moved in up the street. And he's like, pulled out all the hair.
Yeah.
Like, how could you not use me as the realtor? Well, that was my brother's fault. That wasn't their fault because out of sight, out of mind. And so when they give you the little magnets to put on your refrigerator, right? Rusty's is not stupid, the pizza place.
No.
They give you the coupons because you go stick it on your refrigerator and you walk by there every day and open it up 8 times a day or sometimes 10 in my case, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just little things like that. But yeah, I'm not here to waste my time.
Right.
But in the same breath, I realize life is about timing.
Yeah.
And so if I continue to just tickle you, it might be the right timing for you, and you call me.
Yeah, got it. And so now that we're in this new era of 2021 and different things like that, and people are texting.
Yeah.
Wherever it's texting. Do you think that texting would be more effective than it was back in your day?
Yeah. Well, first of all, they didn't have text back in the caveman day. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, I probably. But I've never done it like that, so I really don't want to speak on it.
Yeah.
But I would think you're right on that. Like if I had to, guess, even if it was 50.1 yes, 49.9 no. But I think that I think you have a chance at it. But I still know, no matter what, probably through, the course and the history of time, it's harder to tell somebody no to their face.
Right.
They do the long maybes, or they'll say yes even if they mean no.
Yeah.
Then they have buyer's remorse,
Yeah.
right? Which nobody likes either. But also in my mind, I won't sell the service, product, or merchandise if I don't believe in it 100%. So no matter how you buy, I'm good with it because I already know it's probably best for you, or I wouldn't be sharing it with you to begin with. Now I'm not, I don't know, maybe it's really not best for you, but in my mind, I wouldn't share it with you if I thought there was a chance it would not be the best.
You're right, got it. And then for calls, texts, and emails, what are the 3 advantages? An advantage for each one, and then the disadvantage for each one.
I think they're all surrounding time, and
Okay.
so I look at it and go time and effectiveness for the most part. So you got the the treble and you got the bass on let's say a radio or something. To me, it's just all about that. So obviously, an email is going to be medium. Mm-hmm. A phone call is going to be instant. A text can be instant, but it can also be a back and forth.
Right.
Because you can only say so much on there.
Yeah.
So I think it just has to, to me, it always comes down to quantity and quality. And you got the quantity of time, and then you have the quality of the time. And I know that if I can go face to face with you, and I can get you seated at your table where you eat with your friends and family, the psychological warfare says I'm in a pretty good spot because now you're seeing me as friends and family because we're dipping into the same food, so to speak, right? And so if I've done all of the things correct up front, and then I happily involve you in the presentation to where you're saying yes, I call them the little yeses to get to the big yeses, right? So if I can get you to do what you just did, which is shake your head or to say or whatever, those are what we call tie downs. Those little tie downs are the little yeses that get to the big yes, which is, hey, you ready to move forward with this, $100, whatever, football card or life insurance policy or wheel or whatever else you're selling. It's all the same, in my opinion. Sales is sales is sales.
Got it. And so that will lead into our next topic, which is setting up a meeting.
Yeah.
And so this wasn't the first question, but since you brought it up, I'll ask it. When it comes to setting up the meeting on where you're going to meet, do you want to meet somewhere neutral, like at a Burger King? Do you want to meet at their house, your house? I mean, where is the typical place that you would meet up for, insurance?
Yeah, that's a great question. Very great question. So, if you can get them at their house, at their table, you have a much better chance than your office and your whatever. Okay. And then you have the neutral ground, which is the Starbucks and everywhere in between. So, I think we could debate all what I'm saying here. Yeah. You could say to me, another salesperson, like, no, it's best to show them my office and I have, I'm buttoned up and I've got this and I got my Ferrari in the front and, so there's a part of that too that shows success. Yeah. But for me, I'm going to talk to you about, from who I am and my passion about this service, product, or merchandise. Yeah. I don't care where it's at. I've done it in the back alley before and sold insurance or other product, services, or merchandise. Yeah. I've done it at their house. I've done it in the garage. I've done it. It don't make me any difference. Yeah. But I would say for, means we're trying to help the general public out there. I would say anytime, COVID, that's tough too, but anytime you can get them in their own house at the table that represents friends and family, probably you have your ratios will go up.
Yeah. And so, you're on the phone with Rob.
Yeah.
I'm going back to Rob. And
Deerdick?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Rob Deerdick.
And you get, and so, hey, we're going to meet Tuesday at 12.
Yes.
Where do you go from there?
So first of all, I would never say, hey, we're going to meet, but I would talk to them and say, hey, what's a good time for you? Or what we call the, kid the candy close. Hey, so you said Monday's good. Would it be at noon or around 3? Which would be better for you? So the chocolate with nuts or the chocolate without. It's called an alternative close. Okay. But whatever the case may be, that, they're going to probably tell you what's the best time. Mm-hmm. But if you just say to them, hey, what's the best time? They're going, So if you get it to a Friday and you say, hey, what's the best time on Friday? Would it work better in the morning or the afternoon? Right. Would it work better in around lunchtime or at breakfast? Would it work better at lunchtime or right before dinner? So you kind of give them what I call the alternative or the alternate close. Yeah. And so then they're like, oh, okay, 3 o'clock at whatever time. Yeah. So then what I do is I make sure that appointment's going to stick. Right. And what I say to them is, hey, I've never missed an appointment in 9 years. I don't plan on missing this one. But on the outside chance that I do, I promise you I will call you 24 to 72 hours in advance to reschedule. And just to give you a quick story about how serious I am, Rob, I was on my deathbed, literally dying in the ICU. Unit, and I had my wife call to reschedule an appointment. Right. So that's how serious I am because I'm a respecter of people's time. Yeah. And so they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. Now, you being who you are, and I think you are a person of credibility like I am, that you would give me that same kind of, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And what are they going to say? No, I'm an idiot. Yeah. So I would never do that, right? And so now I've tightened that appointment, right? So then from there, I do what I call the pre-appointment routine, 30 to 90 minutes before I'm going to meet with them on that Tuesday at noon. Yeah. I contact them. Now, this one you can do it with a text, but you can call either because they have to tell you no. Right. So there's a game there, and you can leave a long message. Hey, gives them a chance to think on how to say no.
Right.
Right. And so if I'm already convinced you need to be at the presentation,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to give you chances to think about how to get out of it.
Right.
Because everybody wants to get out. It's like going to vacation. It could be the greatest thing in the world. You're like, man, I don't feel like, getting my stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So we play these mental games with ourselves. So I have to make sure as a professional salesperson that I understand the games and make sure that I'm doing the backstory and able to beat them, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I call to confirm, not to remind.
Right.
Now, what am I really doing? I'm reminding them, right?
Yeah.
But I'm a grown folk. I don't ever want to be reminded, even if they're reminding me.
Yeah.
Like my wife will say, I look at her, I'm like, I'm a grown person.
Yeah.
You mean you're confirming that we have a dinner date to do our nails at 2, right? Or whatever. And so now I've taken that loosey-goosey appointment to when I say, now I'm going to do it this way, will you do the same, to really tighten out of this pre-appointment routine. My ratios were pretty high. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was.
And one more thing. Yeah. And I'm closing the whole time. So they're getting this rhythm of this guy closes. They don't know this.
Right.
But I'm getting this rhythm of closing. And then as we talked about in the presentation, I'm getting these little yeses or these tie downs. So they're agreeing with me this whole time. There's a lot of that psychological warfare
going on, right? And so that was, like you said, 30 to 90 minutes before.
Yeah.
How was it, 24 to 12 hours before? Was that like, okay, now I'm getting my computer ready, my papers ready, stuff like that to show them? Or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so the prep beforehand, I was already pre-prepped. So I would look at a weekly cycle and I would go, okay, I want to sell 10 applications of insurance. So I would put 20 out, right? Next, I'm like, I want to try to have all that. I'd have extra pins. I would have, I would just get all that ready to go. Yeah. So that no matter what came across, including a screaming kid, I already knew how to deal with it. Yeah. And then right before, I just would quickly double check everything, do my confirmation 90 minutes or an hour before. If you do it 2 hours, it's too soon. They'll forget again. Right. That's why it's 30 to 90 minutes. And just on a side note for the audience, trick of the trade, what about if it's an early appointment? So if it's like 8 in the morning, it's 7 or 8 a.m., how do you do that? And so on those, I would usually confirm the night before, like around 8. And so depending, or I'd ask them, hey, are you an early riser or whatever? And then I would rise early. Well, I'm an early riser anyway. I'm an early bird. But either way, then I would send them something maybe 30 minutes ahead. Right. We were going to meet at, let's say, 6 in the morning. 5:30, I'm going to hit them up. And then at 5:15, that's another thing I want to tell you. If 15 minutes before I haven't heard back from them on a confirmation, I send them one more. I make a phone call. If I don't hear from you within 5 minutes, then this is done. Yeah. Like we're done meeting. And if they call me 7 minutes, I say I'll reschedule with you, but we're not having a meeting today. Yeah. I always wanted to be a man, of my word, so to speak. Right. So that gives you a little extras in there.
Yeah, gotcha. And so with phone calls on Sunday.
Yeah.
And the question is, when do you want to meet? How fast were you wanting to meet with them? So if they're like, well, I can meet whenever. So
that's another great question.
When are you like, well, then let's meet today? Or, how does that work?
That's kudos to you, man. I'm serious. Like, these are great questions. This is going to find the audience well when they listen to this, because these are all great questions. So I always said, if it wasn't within 72 hours, they were full of crap. Okay. Because you got to remember the psychology of the other person is, I want to tell you no, but I'm going to give you a long maybe. Right. And I used to tell people that too. That was another thing that I've said to people. I said, now you're telling me that you want to meet in 2 weeks. I'm going to tell you right now, there's zero chance of that happening. Yeah. And they go, oh no, I'm special. Rah, 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 rah. Yeah. And I said, dude, whatever. I've been doing this for a long time, a lot longer than you'll ever think about doing it. And I'm telling you right now, this ain't going to happen. So I'd rather you just tell me no so that I can move on to either my next line of questioning or I can shake your hand and move on, right? Because in the end, I want to help them. So sometimes you got to be, quote unquote, stern with them. Right. So I would say depending on what it is that you're trying to sell them. Yeah. But usually a week, that's about as long as I would want to go. Okay. If I was truly trying to sell them something. Yeah. Now, again, if they're a whale, it could be, 4 months.
Right, because they're busy, obviously.
They're busy people, yeah. I mean, if somebody tried to get a hold of me right now, Yeah, it's possible that I can, talk to you within 72 hours,
Yeah.
but it ain't probable. I'm busy,
Right. Yeah.
right? But I always say, I don't care. I'll pay my money and take my chances,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
I'll call the president. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
They're going to, lock me up and throw me away or
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Right. And so before we move on, is there anything that that I should have asked you that I didn't, or anything you'd like to share with the audience that you thought of from any of the line of questioning?
I feel like we're covering a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of nuggets in here. I can make a course out of this,
Yeah.
and make it more systemic, obviously.
Right.
But the hodgepodge is good, and I think that's kudos to you because, if you ask great questions, which you have, and a lot of great ones, it makes my job easy because it's like, wow, you forget about some of those little things that you do naturally because it just becomes like clockwork.
Right.
Like I forget about the pre-appointment routine or the all that because I just do it naturally now. So I'm glad that that you're able to pull that out of me, and hopefully that helps the audience because I think this would be a great video, both of them.
Nice. Perfect.
Part 1 and part 2, baby.
With
bonus questions.
Yeah, with bonus questions.
That have nothing to do with sales, but they're fun.
So now we're going to move into time and hours.
Okay.
And so as a salesman or self-employed independent contractor, you make your own hours.
Yeah.
And as you kind of said earlier, I'll make a phone call at 8. And they're probably eating breakfast. I'll call them at noon. They're eating lunch.
Yeah.
So they probably, most of the time, will run into issues because they always put it off, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get your people? Because I know how you beat it, right?
Yeah.
You just did it. How did you get your people to beat it, though?
We called it sacred time.
Okay.
And I said, from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock, I do not care. If you're on your deathbed, you're making 60 minutes worth of calls.
From 9 a.m. to 10 a.m.?
Yep.
Okay.
Right? So, because I get it, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
people are getting in the office, they're trying to figure it out, whatever.
Yeah.
But from 9 to 10, there's no excuses.
Okay.
And I said, and if you want to be a star, you go from 9 to 11.
2 hours, okay.
Yep. And I said, if you want to be a superstar,
Yeah.
then you go from 9 to 12. And no matter what else is going on in that day, other than one thing, and that's called a presentation,
Yeah.
you make phone calls for those 30 or 60, 120, and 180 minutes.
Right, like if you had a presentation from 9
Yeah, because that always trumps everything.
Right.
Because that's going to allow you to help that person, and it's going to allow you to help you, which is the win-win. So, so if the appointment was set, you're not going to be like, I got to go make phone calls during my sacred time.
Yeah.
No, that trumps all.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, why do you think people run into the trouble of creating their own hours? Is it because they've never had to do it before and now they're moving into this? Or, why do you think that is?
Well, creating their own hours or doing something within the hours they create.
I guess both.
Yeah, so creating their own hours I don't think is a problem per se.
Yeah.
But I do think it's what do I do? When do I do it?
Yeah.
They're chicken, right? They're scared, they're nervous, they're fearful. And it's so funny to me because people, like I've told you before, man, you're so fearless. When you go do a gainer off the roof, people are like, dang, you're fearless. And you're like, no, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Anything
can happen.
Yeah, but I'm going to go do it anyway because I enjoy it and I like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. Or even if you don't enjoy it and you don't like it, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I used to tell the kids, the kids, so the 8th graders knew this joke. So when I would have 150 PE kids out there, day one, I'd get up and I'd say, okay, how many of you know CPR? Right? And so inevitably, 150 kids, you're going to get 7 or so. And they go, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And so then I look at the 7th graders, mainly because the 8th graders knew because I do it every year. And I'd say, okay, well, here's the situation. If I go down, you kick me in the face as hard as you can. Because if I wake up and your lips are on my lips, I'm going to kill you. Boy, you get quiet. All the 8th graders are laughing, kidding around. But the 7th graders like, dang, this fool's crazy, right? But the bottom line is that we all, know what we have to do in whatever our professions are. What's most important? Prioritize.
Yeah.
Right? And the bottom line is, I don't want to put my mouth on any of those kids' mouth. Now we don't have to do that. But back then, I'm like, I don't want to put my mouth on that kid's mouth if he goes down.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't want to even pump his heart because I know I'm going to break his rib cage. I'm going to feel bad.
Yeah.
But do you have a choice?
No.
Right. And that's how I try to tell it to my people.
Yeah.
This is the heartbeat of what we do.
Yeah.
We make contacts. We set appointments. We give presentations. And we happily encourage them to move forward.
Right.
Period. End of conversation.
Yeah.
After they move forward, if, like in the insurance business, we didn't have to do much after that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, you call the company. They're going to know more about that stuff than me. If they don't treat you right, then you call me and I'll go to war on your behalf.
Right.
Right? And then we would just, contact them. Hey, how you doing? Just a little bit quick. That's when you can do text or email or whatever. Just keep in touch.
Yeah.
It's like the reverse of a tickler because you already have them. And then, you send them out. I never would send them out something on their birthday. I'd send it out like 10 days in advance.
Yeah.
Happy birthday in 10 days. Well, everybody's sending them something. I want to be different.
Yeah.
Right? Or screw Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Right? Which, sorry, honey. But I would send out just because. So I send flowers to my wife, periodically or whatever. And her coworkers will be like, oh, man, is he in the doghouse? Did he get in trouble? She's like, no. Right? Because that's what people think. Well, there has to be this certain reason,
right.
A birthday, Valentine's Day. I'm in the doghouse to get flowers. I'm like, no, I'm going to give him just because.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so if you know that that's what you have to do, if you got to put your mouth on that kid or that kid's got to put his mouth on yours, yuck, but it's necessary. If you got to have sacred time to make those phone calls, then that's just what you have to do.
Gotcha. And so you broke down the mornings.
Yeah.
What did, let's say, from then 12 to 3 look like? Let's say, you had a superstar, and they made it
Yeah.
from 9 to 12. What about 12 to 3 and then at night 3 to 6?
So either appointments were happening.
Okay.
So a lot of times the appointments maybe would happen the weekends because people weren't working.
Yeah.
Or after 6 or whatever if they couldn't get them at lunch or something.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if they hit their, I don't want to say quota, it's a bad word in my book, but they hit the number of appointments.
Yeah.
And they knew what their ratio was, right? Go take a nap. Right? I mean, now if you're saying that you want this, right? So if you make 90 minutes of phone calls in my business, in the insurance business, yeah, you're gonna have more business. You know what to do. You'll make $1 million.
Yeah.
Right, in a year. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to make $2 million, then do the same thing for that 90 minutes from 3 to 6.
Right.
Right. But if not, I don't care. Go take a nap. Go take your wife out. Go play with your kid. Go have fun. Because really, this is a business. In my case, life insurance as supplemental retirement plans. Mm-hmm. Right. In my case, it was all about if you had 10 appointments a week. I mean, the amount of people that you would help.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that you would make is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because let's say, for every 10 appointments, 8 are going to show. If you do it right.
Yeah, if you do it right.
If you do it crappy, like 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And then of those, for us, the way we did it, it was like
almost
80. Yeah, it was 80 to 100%. I mean, if you were crappy, it was like 70.
Yeah.
Because it kind of, I've seen people completely screw up the presentation, put the money in the calculator, show it to the client, and they'd go, I want that.
Yeah.
Right. So you didn't have to be good at it.
Yeah.
But sometimes people are just like, oh, he's trying to push something or something. I'm like, we ain't trying to push nothing on you.
Yeah.
We know it's best for you. If you can't see that, then maybe next year, maybe in 5 months. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But, in my business, if you went 10 appointments, so think about it. If you're making calls for 60 minutes, you'd probably get 2 appointments out of it if you were decent.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to do anything more.
Yeah. So then, let's say, for whatever reason, you made the phone calls, no meetings, no presentations.
Yeah.
So then what would you do to stay productive or to do, what is there to do from there?
Yeah. So, then what we would tell people is do something. Go to somebody's work. Mm-hmm. You have to get appointments. It's the lifeblood of the business. Yeah. Right? In the end, life is simple.
Circling door to door.
Yeah, which I don't like because you're in a cold market and really a freezing market if they don't need it. But I'd rather see that than sit there and do nothing, right? Yeah. But to me, you know, I'm practical and pragmatic.
Yeah.
That's not practical and pragmatic to go knock door to door.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I'd rather see you do that than sit on your butt and do nothing.
Yeah.
So what we would say is if you're just struggling,
Yeah.
then go contact a buddy. Say, hey, let's go to lunch, and then go to lunch and tell him I'm gonna talk a little business here.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know, you have this product. I sold this to you, you know, several years ago. You like it? I need some referrals, dude. Like I'm running dry here.
Got it.
And then now you're not into your warm or hot market, but you're into somebody else's hot market, which makes it your warm market, which means the ratios aren't going to be as great, but they're still going to be pretty good. So it only takes one. It's like they call it the zone diet. So you're eating like you're perfect for, you know, let's say 3 times, well, intermittent fasting, we'll say 2 times 7 in a week. So 14 meals.
Yeah.
And on the 13th meal, you mess up, you have a bag of Doritos.
Yeah.
They say, get right back into the zone, which is the next time you eat.
Right.
Go eat an apple or whatever's healthy.
Yeah.
We used to say the exact same thing, right?
Got it.
We'd be like, get into the zone diet.
Yeah.
It only takes one person to get you back going again.
Right.
So, you know, it didn't happen very often where you fell out.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you went sell, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't prepare for the next ones because you're in the moment of, I got to do presentations, I got to do that, I got to push the business, you know, all that. Then you wake up and you go, oh, crap, I don't have the pipeline filled back with appointments.
Right.
But that means you just sold a whole bunch before, so the money was still there, the helping a bunch of people was still there, but you didn't have the next one that was happening. So that's where it got a little bit weird.
Yeah.
At times, yeah.
And then, so for the last question for, you know, this time/hours, obviously you were able to get a lot done.
Yeah.
Right. You broke it down from probably 6 to 9,
Yeah.
9 to 12, right? So we can go on.
Yeah.
But so, and obviously you were a superstar, so you were making phone calls, presentations all the time.
Yeah.
Going. Just break down the day for us. What did it look like for you when you were in the, you know, insurance business?
Yeah. So, you know, you can go look. We got 150, 70, 80. We got a bunch of videos out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was running what I called the holistic system and the individual system.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, I was creating this company system.
Yeah.
Or sales system or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was always an early riser. So I'd get up at 4 or 5,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I would start right with God and I'd read the Bible. I would, you know, pray. I would do that kind of stuff. And then, you know, I would start to consume correctly. I'd start hydrating, some lemon water, apple cider vinegar water, pound some water and some more water because I knew I was going to go on my walk and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do all of my spiritual religious, which is part of the holistic system. I do that first.
Yeah.
Then I would do my mindset, board visualization, meditation, whatever. I have a bunch of things I do there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go on my walk. So I'm going to hydrate first.
Yeah.
I'm going to do all my warm up, calisthenics that you
Yeah.
taught me and different things of that nature, stretch, all that. I'm going to go do my strength, and then I'm going to go do my cardio. And so by the time all that and I got ready, I've eaten, I've done whatever, which I'm not eating. I'm trying not to eat now, intermittent fasting. I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
But, you know, but back in the day, you know, it's 8 o'clock or so, and I'm 100% ready to go. And I've been already up for, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours.
Yeah.
So now I'm on go.
Right.
So boom, Mondays we'd have our meetings, our gathering, we do that, you know, and then I'm making phone calls, or usually I was handling people's stuff. Hey, can you meet with this guy for me? Can you recruit? Because you get big enough to where you're just now helping everybody else.
Now you're the closing.
Yeah, well, or just helping them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the way that the spreads work, you know, you can make 50 to 100 grand before you ever even got out of bed. Back then was a lot of money. So then you were just helping them, and they would want you to, hey, can I pop in, CEO? And I want you to, you know, meet with, you know, Joe here or Rob, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'd be like, hey, how you doing, man? Yeah. Are you interested in the business? Let me break it down. I don't know what he said. Probably something, you know, but just like today, my guy in Indianapolis, I have an agent there.
Yeah.
Calls me. He's like, hey, I got this guy. Would you be willing to talk to him? He's very well known. I guess he just got back from Iraq, right? Like, thank you for serving our country, all that. But he's a big wig, and I need for because the little wigs, I don't need to talk to him.
He can do that.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Yeah.
And he can handle those guys too. He's one of my top guys.
Right.
But he's able to say, hey, I want you to meet him.
Yeah.
So that he understands this is no joke.
Right.
Right. So there's that kind of stuff as you continue to grow and get bigger.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm not gonna just sit there.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna make phone calls.
Yeah.
But then you get more money, more people. Then you get people to make phone calls for you.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to sit in there and go, okay, boom, boom, boom. Next, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Sometimes there were days where I had a presentation every hour on the hour, and it would go for an hour for 14 hours.
Yeah.
And sometimes that would go 2 weeks straight, right? And I was closing deals for this guy and recruiting this guy in, and, blah, blah, whatever.
So that,
And I love that, like, to me, because I'm troubleshooting the whole time.
Right.
What's your money look like? What's your budget? What's your what are you doing? You trying to make money? Why? What's going on? Oh, you got a wedding coming up? 10,000? Oh, no problem. Dude, this, and that, right?
Yeah. So
to me, I love that.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so, for the final section, I think which everyone probably, really cares about is closing the deal.
Close the deal.
Right.
ABC, right?
Yeah.
Always be closing.
Always be closing. Always be closing. So we'll start with there. Is there something considered, or are there people that are, close happy? That's all they care about. Close, 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 close. And is that good or bad?
Well, it depends on what their motivation is. I think it's great. Begin with end in mind. I want to close.
Yeah.
Right? But if they're doing it for their own personal gain, it's always about them.
Yeah.
Number one, that's going to come across to the person.
Mm.
Number two, you're a donkey.
Right.
Number three, you won't be working in my organization because I don't play that.
Yeah.
I could go 4 through 10 if you'd like, but you get the point.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if at the very beginning, I've already said this is the best product for the majority of the people.
Yeah.
And if somehow I come across somebody where it's not, I'll let them know. Hey, I can't help you, or,
Right.
Go somewhere, do whatever.
Yeah.
So, but if I already know that 100% up front, then heck yeah, it's great to always be closing because you should be closing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't close, what are you doing? You're not helping them, and you're not helping yourself and your family.
Right.
Well, who the heck wants that?
Yeah.
I want to help you, and while I'm helping you, you get to help me. And while you're helping me, I get to help my family. And while I'm helping you, I get to help your family.
Right.
And while we're helping that, we get to do the economy. And then right?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm into that stuff, dude. I like it.
Yeah.
It excites me.
So when does closing start? Does it start as soon as you get off the phone? Does it start as soon as you get there?
No.
Okay.
It's already a done deal before I ever call you.
Okay.
It's done.
Okay.
I'm already 1,000,000,000% convinced that you need this and you will buy.
Okay.
And if you don't, I'm looking at you like this. Zoom in, Jesus. I'm like, dude, I just broke this down for you as simple as I could. 1 + 1 = 2 every time. And if you ain't buying, you got a problem. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, I'm not going to sell it anyway.
Right.
But yeah, it was from the very beginning. It's done in my mind.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to learn the art of negotiation.
Right.
Everybody needs to learn to be rejected.
Yeah.
Everybody, right? I mean, I'm already convinced, dude.
Yeah.
So if I'm convinced, I could be wrong, but probably not because I've probably researched it and analyzed it and talked to people about it. They say I can analyze a piece of rice.
Right.
The difference with me and most people that can analyze a piece of rice, they don't ever do anything.
Right.
I analyze and then I go do. And like I told you in the previous one, I got beat up my first 2 presentations.
Yeah.
But I said no more. I'm not into losing, right? And they both bought, by the way.
So you still won.
Well, they won and I won, but yeah, but it was a train wreck.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, when it does come to closing, so hopefully I asked this correctly. Is it you closing, or is it the information that you gave to help close? Does that make sense?
Sure, it's all the above, right? So, like I said, the psychological warfare is that I've already, in my mind, you're closed.
Yeah.
So, but I got to close you on an appointment now. I got to close you on that this appointment's important,
Right.
which we talked about.
Yeah.
I got to close you on a pre-appointment routine.
Yeah.
I got to close you to actually get there. And then when I get you there, I'm going to happily involve you. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to happily involve you to where you're doing what you're doing right now.
Got it.
You're going to be going, yes, out of your mouth, and you're going to shake your head.
Right.
And each one of those is what I call the tie down.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these little tie downs and all these little yeses will get to ultimately the big yes.
Yeah.
And I've done it so many times where people are like, where do I sign?
Right.
I don't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Right? But if not, you know, here's trick 1002. When you ask a closing question, that's right, shut your mouth. The next person that opens their mouth loses or wins, depending on which way you want to twist that.
Yeah.
And just to give you a quick example of that, I was negotiating a huge contract. They were, so the way the insurance business works is you have to have kind of a middleman between you and the insurance companies until you're doing so much, then you can go direct to them, right?
Okay.
Just like a Walmart, you know,
Yeah.
it's going to get a better deal for, I don't know, Frisbees, you know, with Whammo or what, you know what I mean? You get the point. So, you know, I had talked to the second guy in charge and kind of already said, well, I'm not going to drive 2 hours if this number, like if that number is not there,
Yeah.
I'm not even driving.
Yeah.
So he was yippity yapping and running his mouth. So when we got there, obviously he didn't communicate the same thing with his boss.
Right.
And so his boss threw out a number. And so I got up to leave.
Yeah.
I didn't say nothing. He said, what are you doing? I said, dude, I wouldn't even have been here for that number. It's insulting.
Yeah.
So he was like, you know, when you say that to somebody that's worth a lot of money and doesn't need you for nothing, they want you bad because they're like, wait a minute.
Right.
This dude is different. There's something about him, right? And so, you know, again, in a negotiation, you always go in with a number that is higher than probably what you can obtain.
Yeah.
But that's not how I'll set it that high, but I'll also try to get there.
Right.
So we were going back and forth with numbers. And so I love stories, man. I love them. So he says something to me, and I asked a closing question. I said, you know, I said, is it going to be this number or that number? And for 7 minutes, now try this for 7 seconds,
Yeah.
right? We'll go. Seven seconds.
Yeah.
That's an eternity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like they used to say, like with a fist fight, oh yeah, we fought for 3 minutes. I'm like, you didn't fight for 3 minutes.
You probably fought for 30 seconds.
Yeah, if that. That's a long fight, right? So anyway, and so at the end, I mean, and we were across like a big table, big high rise and all this, and so I asked the question. Well, I had learned this.
So you can't.
Yeah, so I can't say anything, and so I did stuff like this. Right? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So you turn your head, but you're on it. You're a cobra on a mountain.
Yeah.
And so at the end of 7 minutes, this guy, he was so cool. He's a cool guy. His donkey, that was his assistant, or not the assistant, but the second guy in charge was a donkey. But anyway, he said, he goes, hey, did you just read that new book that came out on the art of closing? When you ask a closing question, you're quiet after that. And I go, yeah, are we done here? And we both just started busting up laughing. And I didn't know the guy, but for about an hour of negotiation, we gave a big old hug and high five and whatever. Yeah. And I got the number that I wanted.
Right.
And but that was, to me, that's what life's about.
Right.
That's fun because we both, you know, because it was a brand new book out.
Yeah.
Or brand new trade.
Right.
We both read it at this the weekend before. So we were both like, we're gonna do what he says. We don't even know if it works yet. We're gonna do what he says. And so anyway, that was one of the most fun deals.
Oh, man, that's funny. So, you know, closing, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone wants to know, how do you close? Like, how do you personally close? And obviously it was so successful for you. So obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah, so there's all these industry stuff. They call them the Coca-Cola close or the alternative close. Or I could go on and on. They have a bunch in the industry. Yeah. But for me, I tried, you know, I did the alternative close. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, did you want to start that plan at $200 a month? Or were you thinking more like $175? Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the answer has to be yes.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, hey, do you want the, to a kid, hey, do you want the chocolate with nuts?
Right.
Or do you want the chocolate without nuts? Well, they're not going to say, well, I want the hard candy. And I'm like, okay, you want nothing, right? Like, I'm done.
Got it.
Right? And so, so it was that kind of stuff. Or the Coca-Cola clothes. It was like, you say you can't afford this, but do you do Starbucks? Yeah, okay. Or Coke, do you buy a Coke every day? How much is the Coke? Well, it's $1. Starbucks, it's the same premise, but Starbucks is better because they're more expensive than a Coke. Yeah, $3, $3.79, whatever. And I go, oh, you get the little one? What about the,
Yeah.
Well, okay, $4.20. And I'm like, okay. So, you want to start with $50 a month. So can you just go like 10 days without it? That gives you $40. Right. So, it kind of makes it, or we call it reduced to the ridiculous.
Okay.
That's another one where you reduce it down to where it's like the other direction. It's like, look, it's 14 cents a day.
Right.
To protect your family? to secure your future?
Yeah.
Like, again, which part of that are you not understanding, people, right?
Yeah.
So, I had my favorites, but there was a bunch of them. But I'm simple. It's like, if this works, 90% of the time, why am I going to try the fancy, whatever, 50,000 other clothes that they have out there?
Yeah.
So I stuck with kind of reduced to ridiculous, the Coca-Cola or Starbucks clothes. But my favorite was the alternative clothes.
Yeah.
Because it was like, is it $100 or is it going to be $50?
Yeah.
Did you, when I was a kid, I was like, did you want the box of World's Finest Chocolates? Or did you want 2 boxes? And they're like, dude, I just want one. But this little kid's working me. And so he's like, well, can I just buy half a box? I'm like, oh, my. You want me to be out here till midnight? Jeez, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally, right? So you would play that game with them, whatever.
The back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Got it. So the question next was going to be, are there different types of clothes?
Yeah.
Obviously there is. So then
And there's a bunch out there. Go Google it.
Go Google.
Yeah, pick one, try it. If you don't like it, go to another one.
Was there ever a time in which you closed?
Yeah.
Then, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I don't like you, or you're a donkey, or whatever, and you just got up and left?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm done. They'll be like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're a donkey. I don't deal with donkeys. You have a great day. And I would try to be respectful.
Yeah.
But I would be straight up. I'd be like, yeah, I'm not doing business with you.
And then so you're not doing business, would you allow your self-employed independent contractors to do business with them if they chose to?
Hey, they're self-employed independent contract. Do whatever you want. But I'm not
Personally.
choosing to whatever. And if you're going to come into our company to work, then I do have control of that.
Right.
And the answer is no. But on the product, I'm not going to, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was rare, but it happened. It's like, you know what? No.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with you. You're a punk, and I don't have to deal with you.
Yeah.
Right? I had to deal with bad parents.
Yeah.
At some level. I didn't either, because I just like, well, what are you gonna do? Fire me? Go fire me. I don't care. Like, whatever. Right? I'm not gonna be treated. I'm gonna try to treat everybody with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Even if that's me getting in your tail sometimes. It may not feel like it's respectful.
Right.
But I've predetermined that was the correct thing. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Right? But I have a lot of tactics to say I might be right on that. And I don't even like talking about right or wrong. I just think it's a difference of whatever. But in the end, I'm if you said yes and then you need to walk away because you think I'm a donkey, then that's fine too. I'm cool with it either direction.
Right. And so for the final question, did you ever have one where you closed the deal and sold them life insurance, and then turned it back around and closed the deal and you made them become one of your self-employed independent contractors?
Oh, all the time.
Oh,
all the time. Yeah, because we used to say, so we would lead with one. So we would either lead with the opportunity.
Okay.
Or we'd lead with the product. But guess what? In the end, you're going to hear both. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that was every time. Yeah.
Okay.
Every single time. Right? Yeah. And then, again, if you told me no, then I'd be competitive. And then, and I would do this just because I thought it was fun. They go like, no, I don't want to do that. And I'd be like, okay, well, can you at least invite a few people over, to your house? So they would tell me no on getting one appointment for me. And then all of a sudden I'd have 10 people at their house while they're doing a barbecue, and they were paying for the barbecue too. Yeah. But that was fun. Or I'd pay for it sometimes. But I got 10 appointments and they're telling me no on one. I just always wanted to twist it because to me, I can't hit you going across the middle anymore.
Yeah.
I can't go and can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. I can't go score 30 anymore. So this is my 30. This is my game.
Yeah.
Right? LeBron and Michael and those guys, they had their game, and now this is my game.
Absolutely. So as we're closing up and moving on to bonus questions.
Yeah.
Is there any final things for the audience that you'd like to share?
No, I just think that I'm very impressed with the questions that you asked. I thought that was you were took ownership of it. You were very thoughtful, and I think the better you are at asking questions, the better it's going to pull out of me. The better it's going to be for the audience, and it's kind of a triangulation of winning, win. And I love that stuff. But no, I thought you did and I think all the time you do a good or really good job. But this was top tier. So I think when they find this, there's some nuggets there for sure.
Well, hey, we appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing back from you next week.
If you need to contact Brett or Coach, please do so on his social media accounts, email, and/or text. You can find that information in the description below. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Thanks, and we hope you enjoyed.
Agree to disagree. That's what you.
I'm just going to disagree.
Never do again. I don't know because I'm pretty chicken. I'm pretty conservative. I don't put myself out there a lot.